I first started looking into this, there'd been a couple of kind of big verdicts against J&J in these baby powder cancer trials.
Johnson & Johnson's iconic talcum powder is costing the company billions of dollars.
Another California jury has ordered Johnson & Johnson to pay more than $25 million.
And nearly $4.1 billion in punitive damages.
And I wanted to know what the juries were responding to, like what were they learning about the baby powder that made them react with such big verdicts. So I started looking really closely at the docket in a court in New Jersey, a federal court, where one judge is presiding over all the pretrial proceedings for about almost 12,000 ovarian cancer lawsuits now against J&J, alleging that its baby powder talc caused the cancer. I was closely reading the record, and I noticed some references to a document about the Coker matter. And all anybody knew was that this ovarian cancer baby powder question had only come up, in the past few years. But I got the sense that the Coker matter might have involved a really old case. But I did find one mention of a Darlene Coker lawsuit, a woman who filed a suit against some drugstores. And I thought, well, maybe this is it. So I called the clerk's office. She looked it up for me, agreed to send me the docket sheet. And I could see that a woman named Darlene Coker in 1997 filed a lawsuit against a number of drugstores and Johnson & Johnson, alleging that baby powder that she had used her whole life caused her, in this case, it was not ovarian cancer, it was a cancer called mesothelioma. And I called the lawyer who was listed on the docket sheet, a man named Herschel Hobson in Texas. Unfortunately, he was still working, still at his office, all these years later. And I could tell from the docket sheet that the case had been dismissed without a trial. Often that means that there was a settlement. And usually it's confidential and you can't learn what happened. But I thought, well, what the heck? I called the guy up and I said, did you settle this case? And he said, we didn't settle. We dropped the case. And I said, for nothing? And he said, yes. And I said, why? And he said, we didn't have any evidence that there was any asbestos in the talc. Then I asked him, well, did you see any of the talc testing reports? And he said, no. Are there talc test reports? And I said, yes. He sued Johnson & Johnson in 1997. He demanded all kinds of evidence from the company, testing records. He wanted to depose the managers of any labs that it used to test its talc. He wanted any studies or research or reports that the company had on the health of its talc workers. J&J fought vigorously against that. They opposed it. They said, he doesn't have any evidence tying what was in her lungs to our product. It could have come from someplace else. In the end, the judge did not allow Darlene Coker to get her hands on any more discoveries. So she really had no way to put together what was in her lungs with anything that might have been, in J&J's records, because she never got those records.
For the longest time, she kept saying, I don't feel right. I just don't feel good. I don't know what's going on with me. I had never heard the word mesothelioma before. This was very new to us. We just knew it was some type of lung cancer, but they were telling us the prognosis wasn't good. There isn't a cure for it.
I ended up finding Darlene Coker's daughters. One of them happened to be out here in California, not far from the Bureau, and agreed to talk to me. And then her other sister came out for a visit, and I ended up being able to spend some time with them and learn about their mom.
And she was a person, and she had a full life ahead of her. My mother, when she was given this death sentence, was the exact same age that I am right now.
And I think about just so many things she's missed. She always wanted grandchildren. She doesn't get to see them grow up.
Mesothelioma is just a really tough cancer. It's not curable. The typical survival from diagnosis is a year or two. Darlene beat all the odds. She lived 12 years.
But all of these women have something in common. All of them used regularly and extensively Johnson & Johnson baby powder and had to listen when a doctor said to them, you've got cancer.
Flash forward to this year, 2018, and the first lawsuits go to trial alleging asbestos in Johnson & Johnson's baby powder talc caused mesothelioma. The company, because of this litigation, has been compelled to produce hundreds of thousands of pages of documents. Some of them test reports and memos that talk about asbestos or concerns about asbestos or how do we get rid of asbestos, how do we identify asbestos. These documents span from 1957 through 2013. They include years that were relevant to Darlene Coker's case. So there were documents that Darlene certainly would have been interested in and her lawyer would have used to prosecute her case. There were different reports that identified types of asbestos in its talc or baby powder.
The question is there asbestos in Johnson & Johnson's products? We believe and have always believed that there isn't. Independent laboratories said there's no asbestos.
The company disputes every one of those reports. Some of them, they say, reflect talc produced for industrial products and not for baby powder, or they've got problems with the test method or, actually the identity of the mineral.
Millions of women who use baby powder have not gotten cancer. And most who have ovarian cancer did not use baby powder.
The facts are that science, research, clinical evidence, and decades of studies by medical experts around the world continue to support the safety of cosmetic talc. And no government authority has concluded that talc causes ovarian cancer.
So just to be clear, Johnson & Johnson's position is that its talc and baby powder is asbestos-free. They point to hundreds of tests conducted since the 70s that have failed to find asbestos in their powders. What's significant about the Darlene Coker lawsuit is that in 1997, when she filed, it is apparently the first case, the earliest one that we can find, where somebody had a suspicion about the talc used in Johnson's baby powder and linking it to cancer.